Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has been a long time an early supporter of President Trump, but in this new book, Chris Christie is criticizing Trump for not exactly hiring the best and the brightest. According to Axios, which is releasing excerpts of Christie's new book, it's called Let Me Finish, Chris Christie writes, quote, Donald so urgently needed the right people around him and a solid structure in place. Far too often, he's found himself saddled with the riffraff. Now, remember, Governor Christie was the first among a handful of Republicans running against Trump to shut down his campaign after a debate and throw his support behind then-candidate Trump.
He's rewriting the playbook of American politics because he's providing strong leadership that's not dependent upon the status quo. And so the best person to beat Hillary Clinton in November on that stage last night is undoubtedly Donald Trump. And so I am thrilled to be here this morning to lend my support. I will lend my support between now and November in every way that I can for Donald.
CNN politics reporter and editor-at-large Chris Cillizza is in Washington. Chris Cillizza, riffraff. Who's he talking about?
Yeah, man, I still remember that endorsement day. Donald Trump had promoted it. We had no idea what was coming, and then Christie. Yeah, okay, so who is he talking about? Honestly, I think Chris Christie's not wrong in that quote. Broadly speaking, Trump did need a firm structure that he didn't get. Let's go to a few things that Chris Christie writes in this book about some of the folks who worked for Trump. So, about Michael Flynn, Russian lackey and future federal felon. Ow. Obviously, Michael Flynn was a very prominent person in the campaign, as was Christie, prominent surrogate for Donald Trump, but also someone who has pleaded guilty to lying to Robert Mueller and is cooperating with the special counsel investigation. Okay, former EPA Chief Scott Pruitt, greedy and inexperienced. Honestly, not wrong. Scott Pruitt was a state elected official in Oklahoma. He got run out of Washington eventually. Trump got rid of him because he was feathering his own nest so often. Then Tom Price, this one's kind of hurtful, high flying. You'll remember Price was the head of the Department of Health and Human Services, was the first of Trump's cabinet members pushed out because he was taking so many expensive either first class or military flights. Jeff Sessions not ready for prime time. It's kind of hard to argue with Chris Christie about that one, although you could also say that Sessions was deeply undercut by Donald Trump after he recused himself in the Russia investigation. And then Rex Tillerson, a stranger. Look, honestly, some of that's why Trump picked him. He wanted an outsider. Tillerson came in as head of ExxonMobil, big guy, in Trump's mind, looked the part of Secretary of State. So I actually think Christie, broadly speaking here, is right. I think he's absolutely right, Brooke, about the contention that Trump needed veteran hands and picked a lot of people who did a disservice. I'm not sure it would have changed the presidency because, honestly, Donald Trump's going to do Donald Trump, but it might have helped at the margins.
So if he's kind of calling a spade, does this mean that there could still be a little wiggle room if he wanted one of the multiple vacancies at the White House?
Yeah, so what I've learned with Donald Trump from announcement of candidacy until today is when somebody asks me a question that involves Donald Trump and goes like, might it ever be possible? I always say yes. Because it might be possible. Do I think that Christie's open feud with Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, who Christie takes on repeatedly in this book, do I think that helps him? I don't, so and I would lean to think that keeps him out, but it's Trump. I mean, I hate to be so facile, but it's true. Over and over again, he does stuff that you would think no one other person would do, much less any other president.
Here's the last little bit that's noteworthy. Governor Christie also talks in the book about how the transition plan was literally, thrown in the trash. He writes, all 30 binders were tossed in a Trump Tower dumpster, never to be seen again. So they chalked them.
It was a big, beautiful dumpster, though. Many people say it was the nicest dumpster
you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, again, I remember this happening. Christie was the head of the transition until he wasn't anymore, and suddenly Mike Pence was taking over. If you read the excerpts, Christie wrote about this, and he essentially says Jared Kushner, president's son-in-law, advisor to the president now, married to Ivanka Trump, that Jared Kushner, because Christie as a U.S. attorney, prosecuted Kushner's father and put him in jail, that Kushner bore a grudge and blocked what was a sure thing, undermined him, and that this all goes back to him. Now, that's one side of the story. Jared Kushner really hasn't spoken about it, but it was very, very sudden. And remember, behind all this, Brooke, When Chris Christie endorses Donald Trump in February 2016, he does it for a couple reasons, but one of them is because he thinks that getting in early gives him a chance to be vice president and gives him a chance to have his pick of cabinet jobs. He got neither.
Nada. Wonder what else was in that dumpster. Chris
Boy,
Christie.
it's a big, beautiful dumpster.
Wow. Chris Eliza, thank you very much.